Coming up on TechZilla, Kansas City might be the luckiest city in the U.S. Prices are down, but 3 terabyte drives, probably not your best deal. Google's +1, Anamorphic Video 101 in HD Nation, and a big old pile of your questions. So prime your carb and hit the ignition, because TechZilla starts now. This episode of TechZilla is made possible by Squarespace, Netflix. Go to netflix.com/TechZilla for a free trial membership, and Carbonite Online Backup. Start your free trial at Carbonite.com with the offer code TechZilla and get 2 bonus months if you decide to buy. I'm Patrick Norton.
And I'm Robert Heron.
Welcome to TechZilla, hands-on reviews of the latest tech and how to make the most out of the gear you've already got.
Hey, whether you're a beginner or tech support for your friends and family, if you've got a question about tech or how to suck the moisture out of your workshop, we've got an answer for you.
And if we don't, we'll track down someone who does.
Yes.
Bulk desiccants, baby.
Desiccants for the win.
We mentioned speeding up your PC last week. Seriously, do yourself a favor. Run a full scan with your favorite AV or spyware tool. I found a Java virus.
In your browser cache somewhere?
In my browser cache somewhere.
That's where they usually lurk.
Normally I clear it kind of like every other day, but I have a bunch of tabs open that I've been working through. In any case, you know, I ran Windows Security, and wow, it made browsing so much faster.
Oh, good.
It was actually kind of weird. You know,
it's good to know.
Yeah. So, you know, and I've seen this before when somebody's system is really infested when you're like cleaning, you know, a friend's system.
So I'm a fan of just blowing it out and starting clean, you know? I mean, when it gets that bad, it's time to start over.
In this case, it was like one minor thing, but it was being pretty nasty. So I don't know, probably my entire collection of movies are on the internet somewhere, but do yourself a favor, always update your viruses, auto scan, and let it remove stuff.
AV protection for the win.
Now, when we're recording this, nobody's actually seen it yet. So we haven't gotten the email response, but you know, by the time you're seeing this, you know that we managed to have a Pelican case fail. We're pretty sure it was the Sledgehammer the Sledgehammer Pelican case interaction. I'm glad you're laughing. But I will say that
the case itself looks fine.
Well, the case itself looks fine, but I'm pretty sure. No. Well, I did manage to crack a rib off by one of the support ribs off, 2 of the support ribs off by hitting it on the side with the sledgehammer.
That's acceptable.
That's acceptable. However, you know, when you have your notebook strapped to the lid and you beat the top of the case, you know, dead center with a sledgehammer, you actually see the rings from the sledgehammer face on the front of there. I'm pretty sure it was this one.
The head of the hammer right under the case itself.
It was a beautiful strike, if I do say so myself. You can probably see the ring on it right there, dead center in the top of there. But that did manage to break the screen. And a couple things occurred to me. One, is I probably should have had it stored with the monitor on the inside.
Good plan.
And it also occurs to me that, like, if you're, you know, they call this a carry-on case for a reason. It's doubtful that you're going to be there, you know, in business class with the rest of the sheep in the back of the airplane, and somebody's going to whip out an 8-pound sledgehammer and start beating the snot out of your case.
The throwers might get a hold of it. Oh no, if you're carrying it on, it's a little safer.
Well, we threw it. We threw it a good 15 feet in the air and bounced it on concrete.
Did the compartment for holding the notebook, does it have a pad between the lid and the notebook itself? Much of one?
Not much of one.
I think you might be able to put like a piece of something there to help decelerate it, but
I mean, to be honest with you, which I think what it really needs, as I'm pulling the Velcro out, is what it probably really needs is something to dissipate the force, because this is a very narrow strike. Because usually these things land on the edges. That's why they've got. That's true. Yeah, that's why they've got all the.
You gave it the worst case scenario, no doubt.
And the worst
had
case,
the notebook been inside the case, I think it would have been just fine.
Yeah, you know, if you basically. You know, this is
technically it was inside the case.
Well,
you know
I mean, this is the carry-on case. It's got the side for your, you know, in this case, like magazines and clothing and your DOP kit and stuff, and the notebooks on this side.
Nice.
You know, if I was like super paranoid about equipment, I'd want the standard pluck foam case, and I'd want like a good 2 or 3 inches.
There you go.
Between, at least a couple inches between the screen and the edge of the case. That would be especially if I was letting it go.
I think there are many people who can claim they've managed to, I don't know, not necessarily penetrate the case itself, but at least get some energy through it to destroy something inside of it. So.
Well, yeah, and I had, you know, I had to have it strapped to the edge and facing the sledgehammer. So, you know, I still have a lot of faith in Pelican cases.
I'm impressed. I'm impressed overall, despite. And was it your notebook that got destroyed?
Yes, it was.
It was? Oh,
Kansas City, Kansas, come on down!
Yeah.
Why?
Why? They're getting high speed super broadband, I'm going to call it. Well, basically, Google's ultra high speed broadband. We're talking 1 gigabit per second fiber network to, we think, every home in the city. Now, more than 1,100 cities were nominated.
Bring it here! Bring it here!
Who didn't nominate their own city?
Yeah.
Google did say that they will start building out the network later this year, and service is scheduled to begin in early 2012, pending approval from the city's Board of Commissioners, which we suspect will be granted. Now, Google says the prices will be competitive, and that they're looking to roll out broadband in other cities.
Alameda.
We certainly hope this pokes America's biggest broadband providers to get a bit more competitive with their caps, pricing, and speeds.
Or at least their caps and pricing.
There's not enough competition in this arena, not even close. And the FCC isn't helping us whatsoever in this country, so it's up to us, people. Demand more.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about, actually, on the next show, we're actually going to be talking about, because people are like, can I go to 4G? And it's like, well, we'll talk about that on the next show. Speaking of Google, I got to say I was shocked and kind of delighted that Google's bringing humans into the search results mix via +1s. You've heard me rant about content farms with great SEO, that's search engine optimization, showing up high in the results on Google despite providing craptastic info. And Google, by the way, is not, of course, the only one subject to this. Pretty much every search engine is. The wee little +1 buttons will start to show up next to every search result and ad. You like it, +1 it, hit the button by accident, you can un+1 it immediately. You'll need a Google profile up and running. Go to google.com/experimental to sign up immediately. I think the reason I put the profile stuff in there is so that it makes it that much harder for companies to astroturf the +1 results.
Good call. I was wondering. I'm hesitant to give out my own info, but for that, I just might.
I got to say, I'm curious to see how it works, and I totally want to know where the -10 button is. Because, well, you know,
can only click once.
It happened again, where it was one of those things where it was like, you know. There's I wish I knew the URL. There's this really great. There's this really great diagram that kind of explains how.
You sent that out earlier.
And you know, they pay a pittance to people who.
The content farms you're talking about.
The content farms. For
these answer sites in particular.
Yeah, it's like $15 for a 600-700 word article. It's it's something crazy like 85 cents for a title.
Or pennies to do simple edits on things.
Right.
And they just farm that material out. And that's how they quote, I believe the article we were looking at in particular said it was wanting to generate 30,000 unique articles a day.
I think it's actually a lot more than that. It's an insane number of articles, but they're very shallow. I don't want to take anything away from anybody that's making their living, working for eHow or something, but in most cases the articles are just churned through and they're not very useful.
On to other news, Roku, one of our favorite set-top boxing for getting your Revision 3 or Netflix, is basically no longer mail order only. Best Buy, Fry's, BJ's, and Radio Shack are all selling the units that we love so much, and shame they haven't hit Target because nothing cures a 2 a.m. boredom session like a new set-top box.
Target's open at 2 a.m.?
Some are. Mine just got renovated with this brand new whole, I can buy food there now. And
yeah, I was going to say like Walmart.
Walmart's too. Trying to avoid Walmart lately.
Yeah, the Walmart in San Leandro is a little scary. And one last note, Dell thinks the iPad will fail in the enterprise. Well, Microsoft's Global Chief Research and Strategy Officer Craig Mundy says he'll be computing, or actually says will be computing on smartphones or mobile computers. But tablets, he says, I don't know whether that space will be a persistent one or not. Mundy was speaking in Sydney at the Committee for Economic Development in Australia. We got a link to the Sydney Morning Herald article in the show notes. It's an interesting read, kind of a look at how Microsoft is thinking about the future. Part of me wants to say, sour grapes, Microsoft. How about an update for Windows Phone 7? And part of me is also like, how about that netbook thing that flared up and kind of vaporized in 2 years?
Tablets are going to be around for a while.
I think you're right.
Hey, 3 terabyte drive prices are commanding premium prices, especially when you compare them to 2 terabyte drives. For $149 on Newegg, you can score a Hitachi X series with USB 2, or a Seagate Free Agent GoFlex 3 terabyte with USB 3 and 2.0, or the bare Hitachi DeskStar 3 terabyte drive itself. Now, that's for $179 on Newegg, you can get the DeskStar, or a WD Caviar Green Edition, or the Western Digital MyBook Essentials with a USB 2 or 3 port on it. Pretty good stuff now, but for $199, you can get the WD Green Drive with a PCIe adapter. Nice. Unless you can catch it on sale, though, for about 20 bucks off, or about $180. Sounds good? Check out this email from my buddy Dave at the Nerd List. So we picked up a couple of 3 terabyte drives at work, but they didn't work in the enclosures we have. Anybody know of enclosures that do support them? Thanks, signed Dave.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Dave's Mac Mini server only saw 860 gigabytes. If you'd actually been putting inside of an EFI Mac, most of the late Intel Macs, instead of stuffing it into an old external drive enclosure, he'd have been okay. It's all about the 4K advanced format sectors and how your operating system hurls or doesn't hurl when dealing with those. A 64-bit operating system, GUID or GTD partitions, and a unified extensible firmware interface, aka the UEFI BIOS, on your motherboard are required if you want to boot from a 3 terabyte drive. You got a fairly recent motherboard like this one that I just bought off of Heron because it's not micro ATX.
Yes. Mini ITX.
Mini ITX.
I bought micro.
Oh, you bought micro? Oh, I thought it was, it's even better. In any case.
Such a confusing
Recent Macs have it. Very recent PCs have it. For Macs, need OS X 10.5 or 10.6. Use the disk utility and the GUID partition scheme, but it's still pretty rare. Most PCs that you own are not going to have support for UEFI. Hence the PCI Express adapter that ships with the more expensive green drives from Western Digital. That allows 64-bit Win 7 and Vista users to boot and see the whole 3 terabytes, though Western Digital's website says they're no longer shipping that host bus adapter kit. They're still everywhere on sale on the channel. Windows XP pretty much left out in the cold as near as I can tell, unless you're using an external enclosure, one of the USB or 2.0 or 3.0 adapters. Normally, 32-bit versions of Vista or Windows 7 can't see anything more than 2.19 terabytes natively. It's kind of the cap on what they can see. Though Seagate and Hitachi both offer utilities to map the 3 terabyte space so your operating system can see them. I'd kind of rather pay the extra $20 for the hardware because I hate, there's a certain, I have a certain distrust of mapping, like double layers of mapping for your master boot record, or I should say your.
I find if you ever have to redo it, then you got to remember how that all went together. So you can't just hand that system off to someone else if you ever expect them to, say, rebuild it down the road.
Yeah. If you're thinking about buying a 3 terabyte drive, the Tech Reports review of the 3 terabyte Western Digital Green is very useful. And Antec does a great explainer of the 2.19 terabyte barrier. And I got to say, for static storage, it's probably easiest to use one of the external enclosures. OWC is one of the easiest brands to find for USB or FireWire enclosures that work with 3 terabytes. Check out their Elite Pro Classic FireWire, which does 800, 400 FireWire, USB 2.0 eSATA, and USB 3.0, which is pretty epic. Definitely worth checking out.
My NAS supports 4K sectors now in the most recent update. I'm wondering if it'll support the 3 terabyte drive.
It should.
So I hope so.
That's like the 4K. The 4K sectors are kind of what screw stuff up. And
just the premium though right now is what's stopping me.
Yeah, it's like $99 for a 2 terabyte drive. We've seen them for close to $79 on sale for a 2 terabyte drive.
Yeah.
So
almost double.
150 for 3 terabytes versus 200 for 4 terabytes versus 150 for 4 terabytes.
I just need bigger boxes.
Bigger boxes.
Bigger boxes.
And
more power
drives. Where's the 5 gigabyte, terabyte, gigabyte, whatever? It's all the same. Hey, let's take a moment to thank one of our sponsors, Netflix. More than 20 million members, Netflix is the world's largest subscription service, instantly streaming TV episodes and movies over the internet and sending DVDs by mail. Oh my goodness, my wife cannot be pried loose from Netflix in the evenings. Members can instantly watch thousands of titles on a vast array of devices, streaming TV episodes and movies on Microsoft's Xbox 360, Sony's PS3, the Nintendo Wii, the Apple TV, the Roku box, Robert Heron's beloved Windows Media Center, and quite a bit more. If you're a Netflix Unlimited member like I am, you can instantly watch as many movies as you want, anytime you want, for one low monthly price. Ask me about that iTunes bill that nearly put us underwater. No late fees, no due dates. As a new member and TechZilla viewer, you can score a free Tron membership. Go to netflix.com/TechZilla and sign up now. Just be sure to use netflix.com/TechZilla when you do, so that they know we sent you.
Hey, it's time to get our HD Nation on. Zach writes in, I sort of understand the role of anamorphic lenses and formats in film, but in digital formats, all it seems to do is cause hit or miss stretching distortion between different video players. Okay. Can you explain what anamorphic is, in particular, its role in digital video formats? Thanks, Zach in Florida. Well, Zach, anamorphic, as it relates to digital video, is an intentional distortion of the video frame in order to take full advantage of the storage format's native resolution. Well, consider DVD video. NTSC DVD video is 720 by 480 pixels. relatively, it's a not relatively, it is. It's a 1.5 to 1 aspect ratio. Now, in PAL countries, DVD video 720 by 576. That would be a 1.25 to 1 aspect ratio. Those aspect ratios don't match the 240 to 1 CinemaScope aspect ratio that most movies are, let alone the 1.78 to 1 aspect ratio of a 16 by 9 TV. Now, you could encode black bars to properly shape the movie within the storage format's pixel structure, but that would waste pixels that could otherwise be used to provide increased picture detail. Now, in the case of NTSC DVD video, anamorphic encoding will pre-distort that video in order to utilize the format's native 720 by 480 resolution as much as possible. The player will detect this pre-distortion, hopefully by finding the appropriate flags in the video stream, and then it switches to a wide pixel display mode to achieve the correct picture shape. Now,
it works right.
The problem is that playback of anamorphic content, it's really related, well, the problems I run into when I'm playing back anamorphic content are usually related to someone not encoding the video properly. I see this all the time with downloaded videos. Anamorphic video will look incorrect if the set-top player, like a Blu-ray player or a DVD player, is configured for the wrong screen type, like 4:3 output on a 16 by 9 TV.
Oh, that's where it gets really ugly.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny, right? Because technically, to get the original cinematographer's intention for what was captured on the frame, you should have black bars above and below.
Totally.
Unless it's 4:3, in which case you should have the pillars, on the left and right side.
Totally, and a lot of it's just how it's encoded. Now, the thing that gets me about the Blu-ray format, one of my quirks about it, is that it doesn't provide anamorphic support. So if you're looking at something that's letterboxed or not, on Blu-ray format, that's actually hard-coded right into the video itself, into its format.
I'm okay with that because,
oh no, I'm not saying change the shape of the picture.
Right.
It has to be whatever the director intended. I mean, if you want to pan and scan something, you can do that to your heart's content, but...
It doesn't have to be, but I think we both prefer to not have pan and scan or not have, like, weird stretching of it.
Totally, but by pre-distorting it, and if you're able to use every pixel in the video format itself on the storage format, be it a DVD or a Blu-ray disc, that would produce not necessarily any more horizontal resolution, but you'd increase vertical resolution, and it utilizes more of the pixels more effectively. And really, when you don't have that, that's why if you're buying DVDs, if you're still out there shopping for those things, it's in my mind, if you're a videophile at all, or you just want the best possible quality, buy the discs that actually say on the back this is enhanced for 16 by 9 or enhanced for widescreen. Could list it as anamorphic.
Right.
There's a few other terminologies that they'll use, but that will ensure that at least it was pre-distorted to take the relatively few pixels that are available in the format, and to be able to use those more effectively in terms of getting the picture on the screen and creating more detail.
Using as much of it as possible. Shaw writes in, hey guys, I want to know if it's better to buy the Blu-ray releases right when they come out. I notice that once they release, they often come out later in a combo pack, a Blu-ray, DVD, and digital copy. To me, this doesn't make sense, because if I wanted the DVD copy, I'd buy it on DVD, or if I want the digital copy, I would buy it on iTunes or the Zune Marketplace. Usually after a few months, they release the full Blu-ray copy with additional content on other Blu-ray discs. Example, the Avatar Extended Edition Blu-ray Collector's Edition. Is it better to wait for the full Blu-ray, the full Blu-ray release, or buy the combo pack like a sucker? Thanks, Shaw R in Queens. This actually, there's a reason that they started doing the combo packs where it had the Blu-ray and the DVD and the digital edition. First of all, the digital editions are almost always compatible with Windows Media Center and iTunes. Second, the reason they do that combo pack, and Disney started it, is because of parents who have a Blu-ray at home, a DVD player in the car, and the family may own, an iPod or iPad or other portable devices.
That's a handy scenario for where that's, in my opinion, acceptable, and maybe wait for that combo format. I personally, I think it really depends on what you're looking to do. I personally prefer the movies that are the director's cuts, not the ones that had to go through the RIAA or whoever to determine a specific rating for the movie. I'd rather see it as the director just wanted it to be, and not how it ended up when it made it to the theater.
Tombstone, by the way, I prefer the theatrical release to the director's release.
There are an extreme example would be the latest iteration of the Blade Runner series on the, at least on the Blu-ray format, the final cut. Now, there's a regular version, a collector's box 2-disc edition, a 5-disc ultimate collector's edition, and probably others that I'm forgetting. Now, all of the final cut Blu-ray versions were crafted from the same remastered, restored 4K scan. That's why it looks so darn good. But if all you wanted was the final cut, like I did, then you could save some serious coin and just get that. Now, I'll be honest with you, I've yet to see a digital copy with the quality, visual quality that I would pay extra for. Kick-Ass is an example of a terrible-looking digital copy. I'd prefer to make my own, and you can do that. We've pretty much shown you how. Same goes for DVD versions. If I already own the Blu-ray disc, especially, I'm not going to do that. However, like Pat mentioned, if you can get that combo pack for little or no premium, it can save you some time and effort in getting the other formats you may be needing.
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly, it's kind of funny. The vast majority of movies get released once, and they never get released again unless there's some sort of 25th anniversary edition or something like that. I mean, Avatar, the Hobbit movies you hate so much. You know what I mean? Like Star Wars. There's certain franchises. I'll use
that I'm buying under duress,
where they can basically milk the customers over and over again. Avatar, absolutely amazing example of we're going to give you this version and that version and the other version.
I'm a big fan of unrated editions.
But they never show you what you think you're going to see in the unrated edition. Well, apparently they're doing at least one.
I'm just thinking of like The Hangover. That was awesome. Anyway,
yeah, I got
adult humor, not for the kids. Well,
we should just move on to the new Blu-ray releases.
Hey, how about it's time now for the new Blu-ray releases for the week of April 5th, 2011. First up, Tron. Which Tron, you ask? Well, pay attention because this gets complicated. First, the original 1982 film is being released. Next, 2010's Tron Legacy is also being released. Tron Legacy is also being released in its 3D version, and you can also get Tron Legacy 3D paired with the original Tron in the same package. And last but not least, you can get the limited edition of Tron Legacy paired with the original Tron called the Ultimate Tron Experience. Plus, they're all region free, so whichever way you choose to view either of these films, there's a package for you. The original Tron's video quality gets a 4 out of 5 from Bluray.com for its MPEG-4 AVC codec and a 2.2:1 aspect ratio, saying that while it'll never look as polished, pristine, or striking as its 2010 sequel, it's ultimately faithful to the source material. Quote, "So long as your expectations are in check, detail will prove to be impressive as well," unquote. Extras include an audio commentary with the director, producer, and other crew, an 88-minute documentary originally for the 20th anniversary DVD release in 2003, 7 featurettes that each last from 3 to 13 minutes and have been available on previous releases, plus 2 new featurettes, a 10-minute discussion with the cast and crew about Tron's legacy, no pun intended, and a 12-minute photo Tronology in which the director and producer visit the Disney archives and sort through the concept art and other original materials. As for Tron Legacy, Bluray.com gives both the video and audio quality a full 5 out of 5. The MPEG-4 AVC transfer is, quote, "magnificent and jaw-dropping," and switches between 1.78:1 and 2.35:1 to preserve the IMAX look when appropriate. Bluray.com's review says, quote, "crisp, clean, and razor-sharp, Disney's transfer all but celebrates every subtle hexagon, sliver of hair, and brilliant spark of light that graces the screen." Many fans rave about Daft Punk's score, and it's really shown off well here with its flawless DTS HD Master Audio 7.1 surround track. Extras include an interactive suite titled The Next Day, Flynn Lives Revealed, which features segments from an in-universe mockumentary, news clips, extra scenes, and more, featuring various cast members. You'll also get a 2-minute look at the upcoming Disney XD computer animated television series, a 3-minute look at the Comic-Con Q&A crowd who provided the chance for the Tron Arena audience, a Daft Punk music video, a 12-minute special effects featurette, and more. Also released this week, Taxi Driver. This 1976 classic stars Robert De Niro, Harvey Keitel, and a 12-year-old Jodie Foster, all directed by Martin Scorsese. This region-free release arrives on a 50GB disc with an MPEG-4 AVC codec and a DTS HD Master Audio 5.1 soundtrack. But most noticeably, this release is the result of a brand new 4K restoration, approved by both the cinematographer and Scorsese himself. Bluray.com gives this release a full 5 out of 5 across all categories, from the movie itself, the video, audio, even the extras. Quote, "The general film-like texture makes this a revelation, and the Blu-ray resolution, grain retention, and the like only add to the way the transfer so effortlessly brings out the finest available details, right down to the ever-so-slight layers of dirt on Bickle's yellow taxi," unquote. And they go on to call it one of the finest transfers of a classic film ever to grace a Blu-ray disc. Extras are equally impressive, starting with 3 different audio commentaries, the option to show the script on screen as the film plays, a 16-minute discussion with Scorsese, a 10-minute discussion with the producer, a 20-minute discussion with the writer, an 18-minute Scorsese tribute, an hour-long documentary, and 5 other featurettes, each between 5 and 10 minutes long. And as always, check out our show notes at techzilla.com or hdnation.tv for the rest of this week's Blu-ray releases. Hey, it's time to thank one of our sponsors, Squarespace. Squarespace offers users a flexible solution for anyone looking to create a blog, personal portfolio, or any kind of website. No matter what level of coding experience you have, Squarespace can provide the tools needed to create a high-end, complex website that is uniquely your own. Don't worry if you come across any questions or issues. Squarespace also offers every user 24/7 support. You've seen our sites, and we know a ton of you guys have signed up and built your sites with Squarespace, and you've sent in a ton of responses. John from Kansas City wrote in, "I'm looking for a clean way to build out a gallery of photos from my client's portfolio and would like to have it look a little unique. Is there a way to build a custom frame around the selected photo with the remainder of the gallery on a sidebar? Thanks, John in Kansas City." Here's a quick tutorial the folks at Squarespace put together to answer his question.
Hey, this is Ryan with Squarespace, and I'm going to show you how to turn this gallery into a gallery where you have the image thumbnails at the bottom and the main image in the center. So first what we're going to do in our browser is we're going to switch to configuration mode, go to configure this page, and we're going to switch our gallery display format to a single gallery of images, auto displaying the first full image. We're going to save that, and then now we can see that our gallery now has the photos at the bottom, so we can see our photos and gallery that way.
Keep sending in your questions and tips to squarespace@revision3.com, and we might feature your email in a future episode of TechZilla. And if you don't already have a Squarespace account, head over to squarespace.com/TechZilla to get a 2-week free trial and learn more.
I don't know whether I'm more excited for Taxi Driver or Tron in Blu-ray.
I want to see them both. Anything that gets 5 out of 5 in audio and video quality on Blu-ray, that's going to be
spectacular.
Eye candy and ear candy.
Greetings, TechZilla Group. Read the message. Your mission, should you accept? I'm afraid. Really, I've been watching too much MI5. In fact, the whole series kicked Comcast cable to its keens. What is a keen? Love Netflix and Roku. Okay, my issue. Adobe Reader sucks for any number of reasons. Haven't used it for years. Then Adobe showed its ugly head, and I was forced to install the dreaded Adobe Reader. Why, you say? There are those that love Adobe so much they have produced Adobe PDF materials locked in Adobe. They can only be read with Adobe Reader. Help! I bought some books online in PDF format. They can only be read in Adobe. My daughter is taking online college courses. All the online materials are locked in Adobe. Nothing else will open them. I even called the school. That's when I found out they lock all their materials for reading with Adobe only. Really sucks. Know any way around this? I've tried any number of PDF readers. None will open the files, not even my dedicated copy of PDF Pro. I'm speaking of viewing on desktops and laptops, not e-readers. If your mission fails, actually, nothing will happen, really. Thanks. Make it a great day. Woody in Virginia.
I've been using Sumatra PDF for quite some time, and it's all I use anymore for a couple of reasons. One, it's open source. People, if they want, can examine the code. It's free. It's a very small exe to install. It's simple, and for those reasons alone, I love it. However, I'd love to know if any of these so-called locked files that you're dealing with would actually work in Sumatra PDF. If that's the case, if there's a way to really lock down a file so you only can use Adobe's tool to read it and view it,
right.
I think you're kind of hosed. But
yeah,
I'd be surprised then if any other reader would do it. But
I mean, on the upside, Adobe Reader's installation has gotten a little less onerous in the last version or two compared to where it was a couple years ago.
I like that graph that shows how big the file gets over the years. It started at
I think it's like 4 terabytes in my hard drive right now.
Yeah. Hey, oh, don't start me on Java updates where they saves every previous update ad infinitum. And I'm
we got Java. We got to talk. By the way, whatever you're watching on this will not self-destruct in 5 seconds.
Awesome. This person writes in and says, "Hey Patrick, I recently splashed a bit of coffee into the window controls in my car. I noticed it was sticking a bit whenever I would push the button. Not the window. The window works fine. I remember you had used some alcohol-based solution in a previous episode to unstick the button on your iPhone with great success. I was wondering if you think this would be good to you, be a good use for that as well, or if I should just pry open the panel and clean it off. Because obviously there's some deeper-seated issues with the electronics there. Thanks, signed Zach in Buffalo, New York."
I love isopropyl alcohol, 91%.
Oh, yeah.
It is awesome.
Yeah, it'll dry your skin out like that.
Yeah, it will, in a painful way.
Almost completely denatured.
Oh, that would be bad. Along with stickiness, which I'm sure is coffee-related, especially if you drink coffee with cream and sugar, Zach. Zach said his window has intermittent does not work problems. For example, the window sticks down in the hail and the rain by the Veronica Taco Bell, and 5 minutes later in the office parking lot, the window works again. That says dying switch to me, but it could also be some bit of gook that's intermittently blocking and not blocking the contents in the switch. It would not hurt, as far as I'm concerned, to dribble some alcohol in the switch and vigorously rock it back, back and forth and see if it gets less sticky. If I were paranoid, and I am, I would suggest pulling the ground wire off the battery before you pour alcohol inside the panels of your car. Nothing more embarrassing than, say, spilling too much alcohol on the switch, hitting it by accident, having a bit of a spark, basically ignite your excess of alcohol. Just try explaining that one to the fire department. Please, be sparing with the magic cleaner and keep the sparks and flames away. And while I'm pretty sure it's actually no longer legal to sell in California, CRC's QD electronic cleaner, which comes in a spray can with a little plastic straw nozzle, has fixed problems as varied as dead tailgate switches to flaky radio or ignition connections in various vehicles have had. It's a pretty amazing substance in a can. Probably also vaporizes my liver. What's the thing that does the blood cleaning?
That's
the liver.
one of them.
And CRC's Electromotive Electronics Parts Cleaner is a great way to decrud your alternator. Just don't use it on sensitive electronics.
And how hard is it to pop open a door panel like that?
Depends on the car.
Yeah.
I mean,
I personally have never done it, but that's what I would want to do, just to look at it. And
I suggest going to the search online for your model of car and car speaker installations and stuff, and then buy the appropriate tool, because there's usually little tools you can pick up at Kragen or whatever your local parts supply store for a couple bucks that'll actually allow you to reach in and kind of gracefully unlock the plastic.
Try to wedge a screwdriver in there and scrape things up and probably break a snap that needed to be holding everything together, and it could go downhill quickly.
Do break any of the plastic clips that hold your door on, and by the way, check for screws before you start yanking it off. No, the plastic clips usually slide into slots or behind, and you can buy replacements at the dealer. It's time to thank one of our sponsors, Carbonite Online Backup. Eventually, you're going to have a computer disaster. Whether your computer is damaged, crashed, burns in a fire, is stolen out of the back of your car, well, you're going to suffer a lot less if you've backed it up with Carbonite Online Backup. Your files will be backed up automatically and safely off-site, as in not in the region of the world that's underwater, so it's easy to get them back. You can access your backed up files remotely from any computer or from your iPhone or BlackBerry with a free Carbonite app. Carbonite is pretty cheap when you think about it. $55 a year for unlimited backup for your PC or Mac, but when you use the offer code TechZilla to start your free 15-day trial, you'll get 2 months free if you choose to buy. All the details are at Carbonite.com, and please use the offer code TechZilla to get 2 months free with purchase and to help keep our show on the air. David writes in, I came by this when I was just messing around with my Chrome address bar, but I noticed if you highlight a word in a page and drag it into the address bar, it will search that word with your default search engine. David, great tip. It works, and it works on Firefox too. Sadly though, IE does not offer the same nifty feature.
Nice.
Thanks for the heads up, David.
I actually use the Chrome extension or plugin or whatever they call it, called Google Dictionary. So you can just double click on a word and it gives you a definition of it right there. Or if you've got the word highlighted already, you can usually just right click on any word and it will give you the option to search as one of the menu items there. Now, Greg thinks he's got me. He writes, hi guys, in episode 203, Robert told David in North Carolina that it was okay to run HDMI from an Apple TV to a video receiver where it could be converted to analog component. This is probably not going to work. The Apple TV sends HDCP and the video receiver won't be able to convert the HDCP output into analog. A better alternative would be to buy a different set-top box that has component outs, such as the first generation Apple TV. Cheers, Greg in Bellevue, Washington. Well,
it's an interesting question, because if there should be no HDCP on an analog output, will your beloved video...
See, I was just wondering then, because once it gets into the AV receiver, if that handled the handshake to that point, is it against the rules then to convert that to analog output at that point?
We must investigate further.
I must, because Blu-ray players, you have the option for doing, analog or digital output still, at least for the time being. I will research, but thank you for that email. I do appreciate it. And DC writes in, I have a Windows PC that is a few years old, and soon I would like to replace it with an Apple laptop. I have a lot of stuff on my PC that I would love to transfer, but my main concern is my music collection, some 2,000 songs to transfer. How would I go about doing this easily? I have Dropbox and a Box.net, but I think it might take too long. Am I going to have to buy an SD card or USB stick? Please help me. I don't want to lose my music to an old PC. Sincerely, DC.
You definitely don't want to. I mean, it's nice to back stuff up, but you definitely, if you're transferring between devices, the last thing you want to do is send it over the internet, max out your data cap from your ISP, and then spend another few months downloading it from whatever site you send it up to. Nice thing is the Mac can actually read Windows NTFS partitions, the data. You just can't natively write to them. Borrow a USB hard drive or drop the hard drive from your old Windows box into a USB adapter and copy them on over.
Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, and Steve writes in, watching the 3/15 show, March 15th show, the Ides of March, yeah. Just now, what watch is Robert wearing? Ooh, this one? When will Patrick grow up and start wearing a watch? Sorry, Patrick. Thank you, signed Steve. Jeez, my fashion sense is odd at best, but that watch is from a company called Invicta, and it's available at good old Amazon.com.
It's his manly flying man watch.
I did. I bought it because it has that cool carbon fiber look to it, and it's and it fits really well. Buy the adjustment tool to take the pins out. Don't try to do that with anything else. Just spend the $8 and get the darn adjustment tool.
Or pay $1 at the watch store.
Or go to a watch store and have somebody take the pins out to adjust your bands. It's otherwise you'll mess things up.
That would be bad.
Or I will.
And the reason I don't wear a watch is because I had some repetitive stress type going on with my left hand, so I switched the watch to my right hand, and my left hand got better, then my right hand started having the problems, and then I tried a lighter, non-gigantic Robert Heron style surf-proof watch. That didn't help. It just took longer for the effects to show up, and then I stopped wearing a watch, and the wrist problems went away. I do sometimes carry a pocket watch, but mostly I use the phone.
I'm not a full-time watch wearer. I mean, mostly use my phone because I have that habit of banging my wrist against stuff. I've shattered more watch faces than I can care to remember, and I have a habit of losing things.
I have a Timex one that I've been wearing. I wore on and off for like 10 years, but that I found on the floor of a punk rock show. But even that, with a nylon strap and this super light Timex, would just cause pain and
if that's the case,
in my wrist.
Pocket watch looks a little more fancy. And the phones with the geosynchronous time sync on them.
The time is never wrong on my iPhone.
Even when I change time zones, I love that.
It's pretty cool when it does that. It's magic. Hey, you got a burning tech question for us, whether it's actually about burning tech or just a very urgent question or just a casual question. Send it on in. Techzilla at revision3.com is the email address, at Techzilla on Twitter, or you can post it on our Facebook page at facebook.com/Techzilla.
Hey, thanks so much for watching.
I'm Patrick Norton.
And I'm Robert Heron.
Until next time, you've been watching Techzilla.
Fancy.
It really is carbon fiber.
It is. Yeah. I put quotes in carbon fiber that it was like, turns out it actually was carbon fiber. Down to the ever so slight layers of the dirt on Bickle's yellow taxi. Right down to the ever so slight layers of dirt on Bickle's yellow taxi, unquote. I kept thinking of pickle, yeah. And the like only add to the way the
want speed caps either, but mostly we want the...
Robert. We can do it again.